Hi everyone, my name is Nikenya Price. I am a lecturer in the School of Pharmacy at the University of Technology, Jamaica, in the College of Health Sciences. Yes, I am from Jamaica, the beautiful island of Jamaica, but I am now a Fulbright Scholar in Resident in the School of Pharmacy at Concordia University, Wisconsin. So I'll be in that department for an entire academic year. I was asked to present on a Jamaican herb that we use for medicinal purposes here in Jamaica. And so I am going to introduce to you all a herb called Mamordica charantia, otherwise known as Cerasee. We use it for a lot of Jamaican folklore medicine, and I am going to introduce that to you. So sit back, relax, and let's enjoy learning together. So we're going to be looking at the objectives of this presentation. The first objective is that we are going to identify some of the uses of Mamordica charantia or Cerasee based on traditional Jamaican folklore medicine. Two, we're going to explain briefly the proposed mechanism of action of the herb in glycemic control in diabetes mellitus. And lastly, we're going to assess the safety profile of the herb based on literature as a proposed herbal supportive treatment in glycemic control in diabetes mellitus. We are going to review an article. It is the effect of Mamordica charantia in the treatment of diabetes mellitus, a review from the Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine. And we will be exploring some of the research that they have looked at in this particular article. So let's look at objective 1, which is we're going to be exploring some of the uses of Mamordica charantia based on traditional Jamaican folklore medicine. Jamaica is an island that is found in the Caribbean Sea. It is known for its beautiful beaches and wonderful people. The Jamaican national motto is "Out of many one people," that is based on our multiracial roots. We have a diversity in many things, including our biodiversity. Jamaica ranks 5th in the plant endemism among the islands of the world. And because of this high plant endemicity, we have some of the most unique floral compositions in the forests of the Blue and Jonquil Mountains and the Cockpit Country. No wonder our foreparents used many of these plants for medicinal use. And as such, I'm going to introduce you to one such plant. Now, let me introduce you to Mamordica charantia, otherwise known as Cerasee in Jamaica. We use this as a herb for many medicinal uses, as we will come to see. It is a member of the Cucurbitaceae family, and it is an annual climbing plant and is native to East India and is widely grown and eaten in tropical, subtropical, and temperate regions. So you're going to find this plant in tropical areas of the Amazon, East Africa, Asia, India, South America, and of course in the Caribbean. The plant has an elongated fruit that looks like a warty gourd or cucumber. And the unripened fruit is green and becomes orange when ripe. The fruit is rather sweet when it is ripe, and it can be eaten. I used to eat it as a child, and it was quite sweet and delicious. The plant is widely used in Jamaica for various ailments. A Jamaican-based article online from the Fiwi Roots website indicated some known uses of the plant based on Jamaican folklore medicine, such as hypertension, diabetes, parasitic worms, abdominal pains, and detoxing the body and blood. It also can be used or is used for menstrual pain and urinary tract infection. Has also been known to be used for fevers and colds in children. The herb can also be combined with other herbs to make a bush bath, as they call it, or to treat skin problems like rashes and eczema. There have been numerous studies that survey the use of Cerasee in Jamaica. Pickin and other authors have surveyed 3 areas in Jamaica and found that 42.3% of Jamaicans used the plant for medicinal uses, which included blood cleanse, bellyache or gas or flatulence, as a tonic, and they use it as a purgative. We call that washout in Jamaica. Parts of the plant, such as the leaves and the stem, can be used to make a decoction and taken as a tea. It may be used fresh or it may be used in a dry state. The use is sporadic, of course, and it is dependent on the user and what region of the island you're from. So if your grandmother uses a decoction, then you most likely will do that. A very important point to note is that many Jamaicans, home and abroad, frequently use the plant as a self-care method for diabetes. So they may use the herb alone or concomitantly with conventional medicine, which has its own implications. And we're going to discuss this a little bit more, because if persons are using the herb along with their conventional medicine, we will have issues that we need to address. One study revealed that some respondents who took metformin for diabetes also indicated that they self-medicated with Cerasee. As I said before, we're going to revisit this towards the end of the presentation because it is worth discussing. Cerasee tea, as it is called in Jamaica, Jamaican circles are presented commercially as tea bags or the dry plant. It is not only used on the island, but also here in the US among the Jamaican diaspora. So we have successfully looked at some of the Jamaican traditional uses of Cerasee, and now we're going to Objective 2. We're going to look at the proposed mechanism of action of Momordica charantia in glycemic control in diabetes mellitus. Many studies have shown that Momordica charantia has various nutrients that seem to be conferring the benefits that are seen in Jamaican folklore medicine. They have found phytochemicals in the plant, and they have also discovered chemicals such as saponins, polysaccharides, triterpenes, proteins, vitamins, minerals, flavonoids, ascorbic acid, and steroids. The biologic activity of hypoglycemia, which is what most Jamaicans use the plant for, has been confirmed among other biologic activity, such as antioxidant effect, antibacterial, skin care, anthelmintic, neuroprotective, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, and wound healing, which tends to corroborate the folklore uses, as was mentioned before, in terms of the uses in Jamaican folklore medicine. But today we are going to only focus on the hypoglycemic effect of the plant and how this effect is used by Jamaicans to help to control diabetes. Momordica charantia also contains bitter chemicals like visine, charantin, glycosides, and caravillosides, along with polypeptide pea plant insulin, which are hypoglycemic in their action, which tends to improve blood sugar levels by increasing glucose uptake and glycogen synthesis in the liver, muscle, and fat cells. And this is what is really conferring the hypoglycemic effect that we are seeing when it's taken as a tea for lowering blood sugar. Now, before we discuss the proposed mechanism of action of Momordica charantia, let's briefly review the pathogenesis of diabetes mellitus. Now, we know that diabetes may be characterized as two types, type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. Type 1 diabetes often affects approximately 10% of the population, is often due to the destruction of beta cells in the pancreas due to an autoimmune response, and this results in little or no insulin being released to process glucose in the blood. In type 2 diabetes, there is both reduction in insulin production as well as resistance to insulin in the cells. This tends to occur in metabolically active organs that all respond to insulin. So we are talking about tissues such as adipose tissue, muscle, and the liver. Each organ will respond to insulin via interaction between intracellular signaling and metabolic processes. So under normal circumstances, once there is high levels of glucose in the blood, it is detected, the glucose is detected in the blood, and insulin is released. And insulin then, that is released in the blood, now facilitates the uptake of glucose into the body's cells. And the insulin then transports the glucose to the cells, or facilitates the transport of glucose to the cells. So these two diagrams are just illustrating what happens in type 1 and type 2 diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, there's diminished insulin in the blood, which results in reduced glucose uptake. And in type 2 diabetes, there's insulin, but there's a defect in the signaling of receptors to facilitate the uptake of glucose into cells, resulting in insulin resistance. It has been identified based on research that Mamordica tarantia, or Cerasee, has the following activities. 1. Enhancing glucose uptake, consumption, and utilization. 2. Delaying glucose absorption. 3. Inhibiting glucogenolysis and gluconeogenesis. 4. Protecting islet beta cells. 5. Antioxidation. And 6. Anti-inflammation. All of these activities seem to facilitate glucose lowering in the blood. The proposed mechanisms of action of Mamordica tarantia agents in enhancing the glucose uptake, consumption, and utilization in the body are of 4 mechanisms. 1. It seems to inhibit the expression of suppressors of cytokine signaling, SOCS3, and Jun N-terminal kinase, JNK. It may also activate the insulin receptor substrate 1 signaling pathway either directly or indirectly, and this promotes biogenesis and translocation of glucose transporter 4, GLUT4. The extracts have also been found to block glycogen synthesis kinase GSK3. Now we need to recall that GSK3 permits the inhibition of insulin receptor substrate 1 activity through negative feedback regulation, and this contributes to the inactivation of the insulin signaling pathway. Research has also identified a novel insulin receptor binding protein from the herb that showed hypoglycemic activity. It was found to interact with insulin receptor binding sites that were completely different from that of insulin. Interestingly, the proposed mechanism here is that it reduces the amount of glucose in the blood by enhancing insulin signaling pathways, resulting in a hypoglycemic effect, which is independent on the presence of insulin. So this activity showed a synergistic effect with insulin, which improved or enhanced the glucose lowering activity, which is quite interesting. The standardized herb fruit ethanolic extract were used in these experiments, and they found that the hypoglycemic effect was quite significant. Extracts of Mamordica tarantia showed evidence of delaying the absorption of glucose from the gut. And the proposed mechanism is that the extracts seem to be inhibiting alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase enzymes. Recall that the pancreatic enzyme alpha amylase breaks down dietary carbohydrates to simple monosaccharides in the digestive system, which is further broken down by alpha glucosidases to glucose, which, on absorption, enters the bloodstream. So if you're going to be blocking or inhibiting alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase enzymes, then you can suppress carbohydrate digestion, delay glucose uptake, and consequently reduce blood sugar levels. It was also found that a compound by the name of momordicin, which is found in the extract of the plant, was found to be active against alpha amylase. Other compounds, such as cucurbitane type compounds, were found to have some amount of inhibitory activity of alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase. It's also proposed that the extracts of the plant may activate phosphoinositide 3 kinase, also known as PI3K, which is associated with less glucose absorption in the epithelium of the jejunum. There has also been documented suppression of the translocation of glucose transporter 2, which is associated with decreased reabsorption of glucose in the kidneys. The extracts of the plant used in these experiments were ethyl acetate fractions and ethanolic extracts of the plant, and they were used in both the cell experiments and animal studies. In the animal studies, of course, the extracts were given orally. Extracts of Mormordica tarantia are known to inhibit gluconeogenesis and glycogenolysis. And this is seen in liver slices in vitro and liver tissue in ALX-induced diabetic rats. So the proposed mechanism is this. One, it directly or indirectly activates the adenosine 5 monophosphate activated protein kinase, AMPK, and this, in essence, reduces glyconeolysis. Another proposed mechanism is that it could activate phosphoenolpyruvate carboxykinase enzyme, PEPCK, together with glucose 6-phosphatase, which together are key enzymes that are involved in gluconeogenesis. Both cell and animal experiments showed great promise in the protection of beta cells in the pancreas. It is proposed that one of the mechanisms could be attributed to the increased secretion of glycogen-like peptide 1, GLP-1, which results in an increase in the proliferation of beta cells, which promotes the renewal and recovery of these cells, and that results in, obviously, an increase in insulin secretion, which seemed to be as a result of enteroendocrine L cell allosterism and proliferation. Another mechanism seen is that it increases the level of calcium in the cell that facilitates the release of GLP-1. Also, excessive amounts of glucocorticoid regulated by 11-beta-hydroxysteroid hydrogenase type 1 seems to be associated with damage to beta cells and impaired glucose-stimulated insulin secretion. So the extracts appears to inhibit the activity of this enzyme, thus reducing the amounts of glucocorticoid. It is believed that inflammation is involved in insulin resistance, and the extracts were shown to inhibit tumor necrosis factor alpha, which is known to be involved in the release of cyclooxygenase 2 or COX-2 and nitric oxide synthase, which are both involved in inflammatory responses in the body. Now, the extracts seem to have also free radical scavenging activity, and this can be attributed to the flavonoids that are found in the plant and an acid branch heteropolysaccharide derived from the plant, which has shown excellent antioxidant activity. So we find that the extracts not only are lowering blood glucose levels, but are facilitating a healthy environment for glucose processing through antioxidant activity and anti-inflammatory activity. So we have covered the different medicinal uses in terms of Jamaican folklore medicine of Mamordica charantia. We have also looked at proposed mechanisms for the hypoglycemic effect of the plant. And now we're looking at the last objective, where we're going to assess the safety profile of the plant as a proposed herbal supportive treatment in glycemic control in diabetes mellitus. Now we're going to look at the safety profile of the Mamordica charantia products based on literature as a proposed herbal supportive treatment in glycemic control in diabetes mellitus. Now, the herb has been used as a herbal remedy for many illnesses, including diabetes mellitus in Jamaica, but it's also been used in many countries around the world. However, as we have established, our focus is really as a herbal supplement for hypoglycemic control in diabetes, specifically non-insulin diabetes mellitus. So we're going to be looking at some clinical trials, and I pulled one from the document that we're reviewing, and this is for, the title of the article is Phytochemical Determination and Extraction of Mamordica charantia fruit and its hypoglycemic potentiation of oral hypoglycemic drugs in diabetes mellitus, non-insulin diabetes mellitus. The objective of the study were to identify the chemical constituent of the plant, and two, to study the influence of the fruit extract on the hypoglycemic response of two differently acting oral hypoglycemic drugs, namely metformin and glibenclamide, which are well-known drugs that are used in Jamaica for diabetes. The whole fruit of the plant, consisting of the pericarp, pulp, and seed, was ground in a mixer to get a homogenized powdered mass. And this powdered mass, weighing about 400 grams, was subjected to refluxing with water and methanol separately, followed by vacuum distillation. The vacuum distilled aqueous and methanolic extracts were subjected to evaporation on water bath to obtain an aqueous and a methanolic soft. And this methanolic soft and aqueous soft is really the semi-solid residue that contains substances which were soluble in respective solvents. And the methanolic soft was what was used in this study. And I'm going to refer to the methanolic soft as MC soft going forward. They recruited 15 persons or patients who were non-insulin diabetics between the ages of 52 and 65 years. The patients were divided into 3 groups, and each group has 5 patients. Group A received oral metformin tablets at 500 milligrams twice for the day before meals for 7 days. Group B, they received oral glibenclamide 5 milligrams twice daily for 7 days, and Group C, they received a combination of metformin 500 milligrams and glibenclamide 5 milligrams twice daily for 7 days. The fasting and 2 hours postprandial blood glucose levels were determined at day 0 before drug treatment, and which was considered the control, and on the baseline, and after 7 days after drug treatment began, that is day 7. On the 8th day, or from the 8th day to the 14th day, that's another 7 days, the 3 groups, groups A, B, and C, were treated with half doses of respective drugs with addition of the 200 milligrams of MC extract. So group A is going to get 250 milligrams of metformin plus 200 milligrams of the MC extract. Group B is going to get 2.5 milligrams down from 5 milligrams to 2.5 milligrams of glibenclamide twice daily plus the 200 milligrams of extract. And Group C is going to get a combination of these 2 half dosing plus 200 milligrams of the MC extract. The fasting and postprandial blood glucose were determined again on day 14. All patients took routine diets, avoiding sweets and sugars during the course of the study, and all the patients did, their routine physical activity, things that they are normally doing, that they would be accustomed to doing in their daily routine. MC extracts significantly increased the hypoglycemic effect when half dose of the metformin was given, and we saw that this effect was increased by 10% for fasting and 17% for postprandial. Similarly, when we look at when half dose of the glibenclamide was given along with the MC extract, we saw hypoglycemic effect increasing by 11% for fasting blood sugar and 15% for postprandial. So it means that once you add the extract, it's going to potentiate the hypoglycemic effect of these drugs. Interestingly, when we look at the hypoglycemic effect, when both drugs were combined, both metformin and glibenclamide were combined at half doses, and we added the extract to it, we also saw a significant increase in the hypoglycemic effect when compared to the hypoglycemic effect obtained by the full doses of the drug. So here it is. If you give MC extract according to this study, you can lower the amount of traditional medicine once you supplement using the MC extract, which is a good indication that MC preparations can be used in the management of diabetes mellitus. That is a non-insulin one. However, we would like to see longer and more comprehensive clinical trials. This is just an indication that there is a possibility that it can work. Of course, there are other studies that are out there that shows the proposed benefits of MC in the supplementation of hypoglycemic control of non-insulin diabetic patients. But we need to now look at the fact that if we are taking these drugs with MC extract, what are some of the implications? How will this affect our patients when they are supplementing their traditional drugs? And we're going to look at that in a little while. But before we do, let's look at the safety profile of MC extracts. Although Cerasee is widely used in Jamaica and other parts of the world, it is considered relatively safe. There are some adverse effects that we need to be aware of. It has been established that the water extract of the whole unripe plant of the herb can significantly reduce blood glucose levels, which we have also seen in the study that we just highlighted a while ago. So consumers must be cautious when taking this herbal supplement, especially if you're going to be taking it concomitantly with other traditional medication. One study also highlighted the fact that they have isolated a protein from the plant that seems to stimulate inflammatory responses in human monocytes, and as such, if persons continuously take this plant, it is thought that it may lead to inflammatory-related diseases. In terms of toxicology, it is found to be teratogenic and cardiotoxic. In terms of the fruit and the seed extracts, which has been characterized in the zebrafish embryos. In terms of contraindications, oral administrations of aqueous extracts of the herb to adult female Wistar rats showed a significant decrease in estrogen in a dose-dependent manner when compared to the control. Another study of the extract of this plant found to show anti-spermatogenic effects when administered to albino mice for 48 days intraperitoneally. Also observed was increase in the weight of the epididymis, prostate gland, seminal vesicles, and vas deferens, indicating some possible androgenic properties of the extract. Also, because studies indicate that the extract induce abortion in mice, and the root is a documented uterine stimulant used in pregnancy is absolutely not recommended. And also, couples trying to become pregnant should be cautioned as well, as the studies indicate that the MC extracts or preparation significantly decrease estrogen in rats and show anti-spermatogenic effect in mice, as was stated earlier. So those would be the contraindications. In terms of interaction, of course, if you're going to be taking the extract with anti-diabetic medication, you're going to have significant increase in hypoglycemic effect, so that should be approached with caution. So I found this video on YouTube that was created by a Jamaican about Cerasee and its benefits, and we're gonna explore this video a little bit, and then we will have some discussions on recommendations in use of this product as a nutraceutical.
Jamaicans have always had their parents or grandparents telling them about the wonders of bush tea. Whether you have a headache, upset stomach, cold, flu, or any other ailment, they would brew some fever grass or bitter cerasee and give it to you as a miracle cure. Welcome to Jamaican Things, and today we will look at the health benefits associated with drinking cerasee. Cerasee is a plant native to Africa. Its fruit, leaves, and seeds are used to make medicine. Scientifically known as Mamordica charantia, cerasee is used throughout Jamaica and the Caribbean as a blood purifier. Cerasee is known around the world by various other names, such as bitter melon, African cucumber, balsam pear, karilla fruit, and wild cucumber. Due to the extremely bitter taste associated with cerasee, this tea is dreaded by many Jamaicans, especially children, when offered to them as medicine. It is perfectly called bitter melon in other parts of the world. You can add sugar, honey, or your preferred sweetener of choice to reduce its bitter taste. Cerasee has many different uses. The fruit it produces is incorporated into many Indian and Chinese dishes or may be eaten raw. Cerasee is known to lower blood sugar, blood pressure, aid digestive issues, and kill parasitic worms. It is also used as medicine for constipation and is sometimes given to children for fever or colds. In addition to that, cerasee is also used with other herbs to make a bush bath to treat skin problems like rashes and eczema. In some cases, the fresh leaves and stems are crushed and rubbed onto the skin to deal with skin problems and insect bites. It can also be used as a tea to reduce menstrual pains and to cure urinary tract infections. In recent times, cerasee has become extremely commercialized, and tea bags can now be found in almost all supermarkets. However, we recommend using cerasee in its natural organic state. Scientific research has found that cerasee is rich in the same compounds found in green tea. Those compounds can help to lower body fat and in turn improve heart health. In Jamaican folklore, it is proposed that cerasee tea can be taken by a pregnant woman so that the newborn be born with a good skin tone, and it makes the birthing process easier.
watching that video and in light of all the scientific data that we have explored, what recommendations would you give to a consumer who desires to use Cerasee Herbal products? Now, we must remember that 42% of Jamaicans include Cerasee as a herbal medicine, at least in 3 regions on the island. And we may not know what the statistic is outside of Jamaica in the Jamaican diaspora here in the US and other places, but Jamaicans are going to stick with their Jamaican folklore because we believe in it. Now, because we know that Cerasee has significant hypoglycemic effect, we need to caution consumers who are partaking or consuming this particular herbal medicine. We need to inform them that they have to proceed with caution if they are diabetics, 1, and 2, if they are diabetics and also taking traditional anti-diabetic medication, because we don't want our consumers to be in harm's way in that their blood sugar levels will plummet too low and cause problems, right? We also want to caution persons who are pregnant. Now, in the video, and this is well known in Jamaica, that if you drink Cerasee, your child will come out with nice looking skin. Now, we have already established that it's a contraindication in pregnancy because the scientific data shows, at least in animal studies, that it causes abortion of fetuses. So we want to caution pregnant mothers in taking this herbal remedy. We also want to give a word of caution to those persons who are trying to become pregnant because of the effects on estrogen, and it affects sperm count and sperm production. So these are some of the recommendations that we want to bear in mind, especially if you are going to or planning to produce a product, a nutraceutical product with Cerasee. These are some of the things you need to put in the back of your mind as you commercialize this herbal remedy. Mordica Cerantio, also known as Cerasee, is a member of the Cucurbitaceae family and is widely used in Jamaica. Survey has shown that as much as 42% of Jamaicans use the plant routinely as a herbal medicine for many illnesses, including diabetes mellitus. There is strong evidence that suggests that the herb preparations have significant hypoglycemic effects and may be used to augment antidiabetic drugs for non-insulin dependent diabetes. Concomitant use, however, of the herb with traditional antidiabetic medication must be carefully monitored, and patients need to know the risks when they're taking this herbal supplement. There are adverse effects that should be considered, and it's not recommended in pregnant women or those seeking to become pregnant because of some of these adverse effects. I hope that you would have learned something new today about my country and the herb that is used in my country. There are so many other herbs that we use. Time would not be sufficient for me to share that with you. But I'm sure in future we can look at other plants that are used for various illnesses in Jamaica. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Help me big up Jamaica, the land of wood and water. The system might not proper, but we love the vibe, the food and the culture. Whoa, can't you see the beauty of this country? Me never know a serious thing until